3, 2, 1. Hi everyone, this is Jochen, and today I have Forrest with me from Severalnines, and we're going to talk about how Severalnines reimagined their CRM and marketing automation capabilities after using them for 4 years. Forrest, thanks for taking the time. Maybe you can briefly introduce yourself and Severalnines, what you do and what Severalnines overall does.
Sure, I'm the VP of Marketing at Severalnines. We are a database automation company for open source databases. So we build software and solutions to help companies manage the full ops database lifecycle. So from deployment of the databases to monitoring and management, backups, failover, just about everything someone would need to have an enterprise grade database management solution for their open source databases.
Okay, and across all vendors, right? AWS, Cloud, Google Cloud.
Sure, we have the ability to deploy on-premise or to several clouds or to some type of hybrid setup environment. We have customers using the software behind the firewall, in front of the firewall, internally, across the board.
Yeah. Okay. And what makes you unique there? What's the USP basically from Severalnines against all these big players there?
Most of the people who build database automation software tend to focus on a particular area. So, for example, there are many database monitoring programs out there. There are many programs out there that help you build orchestration to deploy. There are many backup solutions out there. But the challenge is that if you are managing a large scale kind of enterprise grade solution, you would need 10 to 15 different tools to be able to do what our flagship product Cluster Control does.
Yeah.
So Cluster Control allows you to manage MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres, MongoDB, Timescale, Galera cluster, all within one platform, and you can do everything you need to do from a management aspect in the single platform, which saves time and money for the organization.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Interesting. So let's step one step back. Before we started working together, what you were doing, what was your situation like?
So prior to engaging your services, we had a full-time Salesforce administrator who had been administrating both our Salesforce and Pardot side. When he left the company, it kind of left a void where we needed to have someone to help us figure all of this out, but we didn't necessarily have enough work that we needed to hire another administrator. Sorry.
All good. Just keep going.
So we went looking for an agency, and we met with several different ones, and decided to go with you largely because of your background, the fact that you had previously worked at Salesforce, and also because you seem to ask more questions around the business needs and not so much just around what the project needed from a requirements perspective.
Okay.
It actually took us a long time to find someone.
Okay, interesting. So the other ones were very much concerned about, I don't know,
it was
like
more
very
along
specific,
the scope and requirements.
Questions.
Yeah, it was the scope and requirements. They wanted to focus in on the technical details.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much conversation about what were we trying to actually accomplish from a business perspective.
Understood.
That was unique.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. That's what I'm trying to do with my customers. Yeah. So before that, you had your own admin. This person left, so you were basically not in need in hiring a full-time admin, and then you were evaluating different vendors to help you out. Okay.
I would say in addition to when we started the Salesforce implementation, it was owned primarily by the marketing team. Because at that time, I believe there was only one sales rep. And so they didn't really have the bandwidth to be able to administer it as well as. So that kind of became a little bit of a legacy thing where kind of legacy needed, was kind of sitting in the marketing team. And really, truly, to be successful, the the strategy needed to be driven from both a sales perspective and a marketing perspective. And they needed someone who understood both sides of it so that it could be more cohesive in how we operate.
Yeah. I mean, yes, especially I remember like you have so much content on your website and so many visitors. It's just, can you elaborate like how much pieces of content and how much white papers and how many visitors? It's like, it's an insane amount. Like,
yeah, we get close to 3 million people a year coming to our website, reading our content. We've really tried over the last few years to create as much kind of how-to content as we can. We really try to help people understand how to do the things around database management. And the benefit to us is that if you teach someone how to do kind of step-by-step how to do it manually, it's a lot easier when you show them a piece of software that can do it in a couple clicks. And so you kind of get the best of both worlds. If people are coming into our website and trying to figure out how to do it themselves, we're going to help them do that. But we're also going to show them our product and be like, hey, if you just bought this thing, it would be a lot easier for you.
Yeah. But I love that approach because it's pretty much educational marketing and they can walk away with something valuable. And but if they want to go for you, then they know what your capabilities are.
Yeah, I call it the Miracle on 34th Street strategy. If you've never seen the classic Christmas movie Miracle on 34th Street, there's one particular scene where the mother brings the child in and sits on Santa's lap, and the child asks Santa that he wants a particular toy. And he says, and Santa says, oh, okay, you can get that toy. And then the mother comes up to Santa and says, why did you tell him he could have that toy? That toy isn't available anywhere. It's sold out everywhere. And Santa flips open his book and he goes, this store, one of our competitors, got a shipment of them in on Tuesday. If you go over there now, you can probably pick it up. And by doing that, that woman then, it shows in the next scene, wrote a letter back to the head of Macy's and said, I'm a customer of yours for life because you saved my Christmas. So
yes,
my philosophy has always been help the people do what they need to do and then present your products in a way that complement that. Don't try to hit people over the head with your message. You know? They're going to see the value of your software if they try it. My mission is just to get them to try it.
Yeah. No, it's a great example. And actually right now I'm thinking of another example I heard a couple of years ago. It's like, I think a rapper or so was in 2000s was asked by a reporter what they thought of all this pirating music, because everyone was just copying their music and sell them and sold them. And he said, I'm not going to fight them because if 100 million people listen to my stuff, some things will come back.
Mm-hmm.
And this was very forward thinking back then. Not everyone probably shared that opinion in the music industry,
And now we have the whole music industry is pretty much no longer based on actually selling the music, but rather the music's kind of almost given away. And then the way that, artists makes money is by doing concerts and tours and things like that.
And revenue is going up.
Exactly.
So it's I really like that. These analogies. Okay. Well, that's so content heavy, educational marketing. Good, understood. So, but what were your frustrations basically? Like, why? Of course, your admin left. You didn't have anyone. You were looking for someone, but the system was up and running. So, what was specifically your frustrations?
Well, when the system was originally created, it was before the admin was hired, and I believe it was created and the initial setup was made by the sales rep who was selling at the time. With, I believe, at the time was the webmaster. So they did the initial setup, but honestly, neither one of them were Salesforce experts or Pardot experts. So they used a lot of the out-of-the-box functionality, a lot of the pre-setup things. For example, one of the key things that they did was they used the sales cycle settings exactly per the launch, right? When you initially deploy it. One of the first things that you did when you came in was looked at that and said, why do you have so many steps in your process? Your sales cycle is so much simpler than that. And if I remember correctly, we went down from like 10 to 6 or something like that. I can't remember, but it simplified the process, which makes administration easier on the sales rep. So that's just one example of the type of challenges we were facing. The other main challenge I think that we faced is we didn't know what we didn't know. So I didn't know that I needed to do things differently, because all I thought was, why can't I get my end result? Why can't I do what I want to do? And didn't really understand that there has to be a real baseline set up before we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a recurring theme. Yeah, you just don't know what you don't know. Try it, right. Okay,
I mean, a
so
great example of that is that, one of the things you pointed out early on is that we had built all of our drip programs in the drip program automation using the older technology, whereas you quickly pointed out, why aren't you using the engagement studio? It's so much more advanced and it can achieve the same thing and give you a lot more control. Well, I'd never heard of the engagement studio. I didn't even know it
how would you?
existed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because all I knew is that we had drip programs and these are what we had set up.
Yeah.
So, that was just another situation where, you don't know what you don't know. And
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Cool. So, all right. How did you hear about me in the first place, by the way? Just thinking about this now.
if I remember correctly, I think, now I could get this wrong, but I believe you used to be roommates with someone who was someone associated with one of our sales reps. I think that's how we found you. I can't remember if it was Declan, but I think it was one of our previous sales reps knew someone who knew you. I will say initially we just went to Google and started searching. And that's how we found some of the initial agencies that we talked to that didn't quite fit what we wanted. And also were quoting us very, very expensive. Like some of these bigger Salesforce agencies, when they look at a small or medium, sized company, we can't afford to pay, $100,000 to redo a Salesforce implementation, right? It's just not worthwhile for us.
Yeah.
And so, that was another reason why we couldn't necessarily work with some of the people that we talked to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you came through a referral from a friend of a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what's particular also about your organization is that you're very spread out. Like you are based in the US.
Correct. I'm the only employee in the US right now.
Yeah, the company is Swedish.
Correct. We have 2 employees in Sweden.
Yeah, then you have people in India, you have people in Romania, you have people in Japan.
I believe right now we're at 18 countries.
Yeah, so it's incredible. Decentralized company, basically. That makes it coordination sometimes a bit harder, and also aligning different functions, marketing and sales, coordinating this. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So where are we now? After we're still on the journey. We are still there are still some things that we need to work on, but maybe you can share a few things that we've achieved so far.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the first things that we did was really try to understand what the ideal sales process was, and then go start working on mapping it into the Salesforce and the automation. Because understanding the flow of how they wanted to work really needed to be reflected in how the actual system worked. Unfortunately, we've had quite a bit of turnover in our sales team. I think a lot of sales teams have a lot of turnover. And it seemed like, every sales rep seemed to use Salesforce differently. Some people would use the lead queues. Some people would use their email notifications. Some people would go in and build their own reports and run their own thing. And whenever you see that happening, the bottom line baseline is that it's not built the way they're working. Because if people have to go find other ways of doing it, that means that it's not built by default to be convenient. And I think that was largely because we were using so much of the stuff out of the box without any modifications. And so, once we were able to put that in place, obviously there hasn't been a whole lot of time passed to where we can really assess it, but, there's more efficiency and it's more in line. But fundamentally, the key things that we wanted to do with this initial project was to build a baseline for us to move into the future. We want to be able to do more advanced forecasting, more advanced data analysis within Salesforce. We want stronger dashboards that really give us indications into our business and where things are going. Our sales director, still is using spreadsheets as the primary management tool for what the status of sales is, right? And we've got to get that out of that and using the system. But before we could start doing some of that more advanced stuff, we had to have a baseline built. And so, our project was primarily focused on getting in and cleaning up the workflows, cleaning up the lead queues, the syncs, making sure that we were using the product in the right way, so that we had a foundation that we could then build much more advanced things on. Like from a Salesforce perspective, the forecasting, I think, is our ultimate goal. On the marketing side, it's segmentation. We want to be able to send relevant content to just the people who are interested in that particular technology and not just spam everybody with everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you basically invested in the last couple of years quite heavily into Salesforce and the technology overall, also marketing automation with Pardot, but you weren't necessarily utilizing or leveraging it to the full capabilities. And
no, I hate to say from a Pardot perspective, we were really using it as more like a MailChimp than a database automation tool. We were using it as kind of just an email sender. And it's far more advanced of a program than that. And there's much more capability that we can leverage that we weren't. And so now with this project in place, which, as you mentioned, we still have some things that we're working on, we will hopefully have a really strong baseline that then we can take it to the next level, which of course you're going to be helping us do. So that next level from a sales perspective is building out those dashboards that forecast, really refining the sales process. And then on the marketing side, it's automating as much as we can the segmentation so that we can be sending more relevant communications to our customers through the system.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Cool. All right. So coming back to Severalnines, to your company, what would be an advice for companies that are seeking, or for your niche, basically? What do you see over again, and what do you advise them to do?
Well, I would say that Salesforce and Pardot in general is a very advanced, very complex product. If you are going to use that product in your organization, you better hire someone who knows what they're doing to set it up initially, because it's going to save you a lot of headache down the road of trying to figure things out. We're spending more time in this project undoing things that were done in the past than we are doing things productively toward the future. And I think a lot of people, and myself included, at a previous company, I did a Salesforce implementation and I was the one who set it up. I'd never used Salesforce before. I didn't know what I was doing. So, I could imagine, that startup unfortunately didn't continue, but if it had, I could imagine now several years later, they would probably be cursing my name saying, who is this Forrest person? And why did they set this thing up so horribly? Because I guarantee you it's set up horribly, because I had no clue what I was doing. And so, this was my advice. It's start off on a strong foot. And if you are not currently on a strong footing and you don't feel you're getting the benefit out of it, it is time to get on that strong footing, because unfortunately, this tool is ridiculously expensive. And if you're going to pay for this tool, you better get the benefits out of it.
Very true. Very true. Cool. All right. I think that's about it. Thank you very much for taking the time. If people want to find out more about Severalnines, what are you guys doing? Where can they find you?
Yeah, they can go to severalnines.com and click on our flagship product, Cluster Control. We also have a new product we've launched recently called Backup Ninja that helps you back up your databases to the cloud provider or on-premise of your choice, and it's really cheap. So you can use that. And then you can look, we actually have a new product coming out shortly called CCX that is a new database as a service that you can check out and hopefully find a way to automate some of your database management and save some headcount.
Cool. Exciting times ahead. Thank you very much, Forrest, for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.